Good morning, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is David Okon. I'm talking about money in the United Kingdom given to people who need it. And this money is given by the United Kingdom government to people who need it within the social policy, within the social program objectives. And to get this money, you need to visit the Department of Work and Pension, which is a government department. And also what is happening in the United Kingdom is similar to what happened across the globe. So if you are watching this video, and thank you so much for watching this video, and what you watch about the United Kingdom is similar to what happened in another continent. And so if you are actually from another country, pay attention to what happened in the United Kingdom. This is in particular because of globalization, like I said previously. And so to understand what happened in your country, understand what happened in other country, also understand globalization, understand the politics, the policy, and all the other social issues, because they are connected across the globe. So what I am trying to do, I'm trying to give this information, take viewers through the process of trying to access this help in the United Kingdom, which could be or may not be similar to what you have. If you are in Africa, it's best to contact your local leaders, especially the member of parliament in your local country, to find out if your government is giving similar help. So if you are away from the United Kingdom, pay attention to this video. And thank you for subscribing. For those who have subscribed, sharing with family and friends the videos. And also people who have been clicking like, clicking notification bell, and sharing the videos, and clicking and leaving comment below. And if you're new today, try and subscribe to this channel and sharing with family and friends. Welcome to the community. Let us look at the basic step of accessing this material. And this video is a continuation of what videos I've recorded in terms of financing and accessing financing for people who need it in the United Kingdom. So when you, for example, if you are claiming a benefit in the United Kingdom known as the universal credit, these are very specific information. If you live in the United Kingdom, then you know what universal credit is. And in that context, you would form a view. There are people who may not need benefit today, but may need it in the future. In that respect, pay attention to what happened in your community. Understand what goes on around, because what goes around comes around. If you are a family or a friend, if you are employed, if you're not employed, pay attention to government policy, especially on benefit, on welfare support, generally including hospital, including food, energy. These are all welfare facilities. Some of them are actually provided by private companies. Some of them are provided by public companies. Some of them are provided by in-between organizations like non-profit organizations. Welcome again to this process. We are going to go through some specifics, but I will stop from time to time to provide some forms of analysis. Leave a comment below and let me know what you think about this process and about this program. And if you are in a situation where you need to get help for your housing, because there are benefits, there are money given specifically to support you with your housing costs. Housing cost in the United Kingdom is extremely important because it's the most expensive element of cost for the household. And if you are living in a certain type of temporary accommodation, you will get housing benefit on a temporary accommodation and continue to get universal credit housing element on your usual home. Now, if you find this information tedious, maybe so extremely complicated, leave a comment below and let me try to know. You may or may not be shy about talking about benefit, because benefit has a stigma in the United Kingdom. A lot of people who need it don't actually access it. So there are these types of accommodation include somewhere to help you lead a more settled life called a settlement place. These are different categories of housing which are provided by the government. It's called social housing, but it's a public housing given in the United Kingdom for people who are on low income, who might not afford accessing housing in the market. This is in the majoritarian context. A lot of people, the majority of the UK people, can't afford to buy. Therefore, the government of the United Kingdom intervening in the system of capitalism to moderate capitalism normally provide this support. I have made this comment so that people put in their proper context what we are trying to do. And therefore, if you are actually living in a county council, charity, housing association, accommodation where you get care or support or supervision, these are some of the category of the nitty-gritty of what type of accommodation you get depending on your circumstances. Now you're looking at a local authority hostel where you can get care, you can get support, you can get supervision. This may not include care homes or independent hospitals. You take a look at council property again. There are charity housing association, temporary accommodation for people who have left home because of domestic violence or abuse. Talking about domestic violence to the effect where government seek to support people who need help. A local authority in temporary accommodation may be another type of example of the housing for homeless people where the rent is due at a local authority or social housing provider. These are category of housing, and leave a comment below what you think about this information for ordinary people or people who are not really necessarily ordinary and living in the United Kingdom or not living in the United Kingdom. Let me know what your thoughts. And because sometimes, from time and again, policy objectives are very extremely complex. Let us look at service charges for private renters. If you pay your service charges and rent together as one payment, and your housing element should be either the whole amount or the local housing authority rate, whichever is lower. And we'll talk about something called service charges, which is in addition to ordinary renting. And the basis of this, I would suggest that service charges occur when government fails to provide adequate funding for private companies, or we talk about private renters here as opposed to public renters. Private renters are in privately rented accommodation owned by private individuals or groups, and as in the private sectorial context, but as compared to the property provided by the government, which is a government property, which is public property, which is actually is also known as social housing. So in the event where you might be renting privately, and you may be charged service charges, and so you can, in the event where you pay your service charges and rent together, and service charges you can pay together with rent. In this situation, if you're paying service charges and rent together as one payment, and your housing element should be either the whole amount or the local housing area rate, local housing area rate, whichever is lower. Whichever is lower, local area rate, because the government's philosophy is actually to be prudent in managing public sector. and whichever is lower, these are actually the condition. You can pay. You should pay either the whole amount or the local housing area rate, the LHA rate, whichever is lower. The Department of Work and Pension asks for a breakdown of charges. One to exclude the charges, the service charges. You can quote paragraph 7.2 of the Department of Work and Pension Guide or for landlords or on gov.uk. And sometimes the policy is so complicated that there is misapplication of the policy. So viewers are empowered by information on gov.uk and also on Citizen Advice, which is one of the leading advisory body within the third sector in the United Kingdom. If you watch this video, watch it with the rest of the video. And thank you so much. And subscribe to this channel if you haven't subscribed. And leave a comment below. Let me know what your thoughts. And so if you pay service charges separately from your rent, then you might be able to get some service charges added to the housing element. The charges must be the cost of service or facilities for people living there, or fairly attributable to those costs. These could these may include things like window cleaning or garden maintenance. Service charges for homeowners and clients in social housing, for example, is another example in the element of what consideration can be made when you are looking at support for housing costs. So you're looking at if you are homeowner and also if you are actually social housing client or tenant, and you be in a situation where you can get you can actually get service charges added to the housing element if you are if you are reasonable, and paying them is a condition. And this if this distribution is reasonable according to the Department of Work and Pension, and paying them is a condition of living there. If you have to pay them in order to live there, then if it is reasonable, then you can get service charges added to the housing element. In other words, housing element is the help given in terms of money to pay your rent or other aspect of charges associated with your property. So you will need to get a breakdown of what the service charges are for, and they should be able to get these for their landlord or building management company. Most service charges must be for the upkeep of communal areas or services, as well as rooms and halls. Communal areas include gardens, car and bike parking, laundry, and children's play areas. And these are some of the listing for what service charges should be considered as covering. So the charges can be for adaptation, unless public funding is available for them, maintenance, cleaning, health and safety checks, utility, water, electricity, and so all building access such as locks and key pads, aerials, and other equipment for free TV and radio, but not for satellite or cable TV. For rubbish collection, CCTV staff, for example, a caretaker, where their work would be eligible for service charge payment. Away from communal areas, the housing element will only pay for service charges if they are for window cleaning, but not on the ground floor. Any management fees included in your rent, in your tenancy agreement, shared ownership tenancy maintenance or repair, where those payments are specifically identified as being for that purpose, charges for specific charges specific to the accommodation, like basic furniture or domestic appliances. And if you own your home, you will usually need to wait until you have had 9 consecutive universal credit payments before you can get help with service charges costs. So, in other words, if you are buying your own houses, let me check if you are on a mortgage. If you own your own home, it doesn't mention mortgage. Mortgage is a credit you get, but my information also say universal credit is not used to pay mortgages. It could, in some cases, be used to pay for rent, for interest on loans or similar credits. And in this circumstances, if you are lucky enough to own your home, then you will usually need to wait until you have had 9 consecutive universal credit payments before you can get help with service charges costs. What is not clear is that if you already own your home, probably you don't experience the cost of renting or paying mortgages, which means you are actually cost-free in that aspect. So they would only consider locally for your service charge cost, but you have to wait for 9 months of getting universal credit consecutively. That is a policy of the government. Leave around the law what you think about this policy, and let me know what your thoughts are. Any month where the earn where you might be earning money, any month where you might be earning money, start your waiting period again. Now, in a month where you earn money, will actually start your waiting period again. Waiting period is actually the period waiting after claiming universal credit. You have to wait for 9 months in consecutively. That is the rule. There shouldn't be a break in your claiming universal credit for 9 months. So if you start work and start earning money, or start earning money in one way or the other, that might really interrupt the continuity of claiming benefit, in which case you might have to start the waiting period again. This may be really almost confusing because of the amount of detail, of the intricacy of the policy. Leave a comment below and let me know what you're thinking. So the waiting period is shorter if you got one of the following benefits immediately before universal credit is. Say, for example, you wait for a shorter period if you're getting income support, income-based job seekers allowance, income-based employment support allowance. And I've already said in the previous posting that these are legacy benefits being replaced now by universal credit, which is a new benefit. So following government reform of the system of benefit, each month you spend on one of those benefits counts as a month towards the waiting period for small and medium for SMI or service charges. SMI is probably I can't really remember what it is. A thing. I think that's to do with interest or something. Mortgage. I think mortgage interest, and it has to do, I think, interest or mortgage service. I can't really be SMI or service charge. I think it has to do with interest, mortgage interest or something like that. And these are some of the information you might look on Government UK. So if you have a split up from a partner and is claiming service charges for your old home, and any time spent waiting for your joint claim carries over to your waiting period. So in the event of separating, maybe your relationship broke and you are split between two homes, the old and the new, then the service charges for your old home you may claim, and so in the event of splitting up from a partner, and if you are claiming service charges for the which you do, and any time spent waiting for your joint claim carrying over, it does so to do your waiting period. And if you are already claiming service charges, and you can then you can get it straight away. These are some of the complex dynamics in terms of claiming benefits for service charges in the event where you separate from your partner, and if you are split up, but you claim but you are actually now claiming for a different home, and then you need to start your claim, your waiting period again. So there is something called waiting period of 9 months by standard, but also under certain circumstances the waiting may be disrupted by one crisis or another, including if you start earning a living, or also if you break up and you're moving from one place to another, the continuity may be broken. That is what I was trying to talk about. So let us look at service charges that are included. So you can't get the housing element for utilities, cleaning and maintenance of your own property. If you own your own property, you can't get for this in terms of what would normally be covered if you were renting, rather than the communal areas. You get in for the communal areas service charges or facilities that are public funding internet. So there are caveats here, and but the better view is that you don't actually claim if you are owning your own home, and the caveats that and rather than if in the cleaning maintenance of your own property, rather than communal area services or facilities that are public funding internet. That may mean that you own the property, but if there's a communal with the shared facilities within the community, you may be owning a home in an estate where the publicly funded facilities are like internet, food, medical services, personal care, a loan taken out to pay service charges, and things like that. If it is applicable, then you may actually be in a position to claim. If part of your service charge is eligible and part isn't, you can get housing element for the eligible parts, but will need to pay the rest themselves. In other words, there are part eligibility and part ineligibility. Where eligibility occurs, you get paid, and where ineligibility also occurs, in that there is a two-prong, you don't actually get for one or the other, and you may get it partially. Leave a comment below and let me know what you're thinking. Thank you so much for your participation on this process. Let us try and see how to calculate housing element. To calculate housing element, you will need to work out the room allowance and the number of bedrooms the government thinks you need. If, for example, the room allowance, there is something called bedroom tax when you are on benefit. So you take into account in terms of service charges to calculate it, and its effect in these circumstances. The number of room you are allowed, room allowance you're allowed to live in. Like if the room is unoccupied, then you probably will impact on how much benefit you get. Check how much your housing costs you are liable for. We spoke about liability in the previous video, and watch this video or visit our government website to understand what liability means in terms of housing costs, in terms of benefit. Because if you are liable, then you are more likely to contribute in terms of liability factor toward your eligibility to get housing support. Let's also look at if you're finding out in terms of calculation in this section, find out the maximum amount of housing element you can get. And the maximum amount of housing element you can get means it's a policy for from the government on housing, which is known as benefit cap, which in my opinion is wrong. Any government sensible enough to do a good job in helping people should scrap that policy, because it is the beginning, is the start of the beginning of the government refusing to give benefit altogether. It's happening now with council tax reduction, where the government has changed. It used to be called council tax benefit, because this council tax reduction, the council tax cost amount is reduced for those who need help, and such unlike before, when people needing help by way of eligibility to certain benefit, and all the benefit was without more provided to people who need it, and which means everything was paid. So the government, by stealth or by hook and crook, if I use that, are trying to give excuses to shut down the public sector, which is the best way to do is actually to withdraw funding. With funding being withdraw. I think there's a policy to shut down the public sector anyway. I've made this claim before. If you think I'm wrong or right, leave a comment below. And thank you so much for your support. And I believe the agenda, the political agenda, is to shut down the public sector. I may be right, I may be wrong. And you comment below and let me know what you're thinking. And to that effect, the government has provided one excuses over another to refuse to help people, because the only way to shut it down is to refuse funding it. Or if you hear the government saying they are funding public sector, it means they're actually funding another element of the public sector, which is capital and also infrastructure, which is wealth. These wealth are being given to private companies who run now are given to run the public sector. Yeah, as I speak, I think entirely now the entire public sector is now being run by the private sector, because the government is so sneaky, if I may say so, because what he does, it actually privatized by the back door. If you go to, say, Department of Work and Pension, if you think that there is the artificial intelligence now being provided to the Department of Work and Pension, then you more likely or not, you are going to discover that the artificial intelligence being provided is provided by the public sector, but no, by the private sector. And the food you eat, the drink you take in the hospital, the bed you sleep on, the ambulances are all privatized. So privatization by the back door, that is exactly what it means. So that ambulance, if you try to contact the ambulance, the more likely they're going to refuse. They're going to ask you to take a taxi, and if you say you don't have money, they will say we are not a taxi, which means the money is not their problem. Go to the Department of Work and Pension, who will pay you enough to kind of like stay in debt and suffer lack of accessing adequate food and water. So the crisis is all around. A lot of people are giving me feedback to say this information is so depressing. Yes, it is. And I choose to talk about it because it is true. And I get so depressed myself. But, we are all in this together. We rather tell the truth other than lie. If you think you are very delicate, go to the hospital and get help. Because, I'm not responsible for your stress. Because you think I'm stressing you by telling you the truth about the truth about life and the seriousness of the situation. And a lot of people, you can bury your head in the sand and hope, everything will be okay on the day. But that is not going to happen, because you see, the political agenda is a reality that the public sector is closing down anyway. Poor people are doomed. And you see, when I talk about doomsday predictions, I'm also saying we are all in this together. Whether you are rich or poor, you are actually on your own. You are in serious trouble. And as a country, you are in serious trouble, because if you do the wrong thing, you get the wrong result. And we haven't seen violence and treachery in our modern world yet. Let us not even think about money and wealth and power. A lot of people now think because they are in power, because they are rich, they are multimillionaires and multi-billionaires. You want to get more money to protect themselves. Money is their protector. They are wrong. And you see, what you need is a humanitarian aspect of society, which is a cultural economy, which is needed, which is our savior. Wealthy people, people who are expert on development, expert economists, politicians who are really focused on creating more wealth, more power, and buying more and more money. They think that is security. That is false security, because these things are fleeting. What we need by way of security is revisiting our cultural economy. Human beings are this problem, and they are also the solution. Whether you are rich or poor, you are the problem, you are also the solution. It's a case of changing the way you think. Think peace, think war. You get war, you get peace. Depending what you are thinking, what you think become, produce who you are. Who you are actually facilitate your attitude, your attitude, you name it, your behavior. If you're going to do something wrong because you have the wrong set of thought trains on your head, if you are doing something right, then you have the right pattern of thinking. This is a medicine. This is a miracle cure of offenses, of human wrong, turning it around from human wrong to human right. I have said this again, and I'm glad I did. Leave a comment below if you think you know different, if you know better, if you think this is a menace, this program is actually a headache, then let me know, because some people think it is, maybe it is, maybe it is not. You don't shoot the messenger. You actually solve the problem. You don't deal with symptoms. You are to take responsibility. We are a community who are so spoiled, like little brats, and that moment has passed. It is about time now we face the real world. We want to be nice. We want positive vibes. I want positive vibes, but there are certain things you have to face. If there is dirt, if there is mess, you have to clean it up. You wake up in the morning, you have to wash. If you don't wash, you go on the train, you smell, and you tell the rest of the world, be nice to me because I want positive vibe. If you haven't bathed because you are not caring after yourself, you haven't groomed properly, you haven't put perfumes, you haven't beautified your body, and you turn around and accuse people you are terrorizing by being dirty on a train, on a bus, on a party, or even a partner, you are in bed or you're walking, you're so messed up. You don't look after yourself because you are neglecting your life, and you want people to be nice to you. Then you have something else coming. You have to take responsibility for your life and stop every title or whatever you call them. Every little piece of excuse should be evacuated from your life. You have to evacuate. You have to get rid of ignorance and hypocrisy. You have to grow up. Even if you are a kid, grow up, because you have to survive. You have to behave like wild animal. We have a jungle out there. It's not as capitalism. Capitalism is the jungle, and the survival of the fittest is what we need in a jungle. If you are not a survivor, you're gonna die. If you are not fit in the jungle of the market economy, in the capitalistic society, you're gonna die. God for us all, everyone for himself. There is savagery, there is viciousness. Look at the wildlife. Human society is going to be worse than that, because there is no sense of care. We are losing our humanity. It is time now for us to stop and turn around and rebuild our culture, heal our society, and renew our minds, and refresh our souls, rejoicing in our livelihood. We are humans. We are not wild animals. We are better than this. The public sector, whatever it is, is helping people who cannot help themselves. We are a society, we are individual, we have to have respect for individuals, we have to respect for society, for families, for the country. What kind of country have we become? The country is a collection, the government is the ruling power, and it is bailing out on the British people. The government of the world is bailing out on their citizens. They are taken wealth from the many and concentrated this wealth in the hand of the ruling elite, and they want to shut down the country and exclude the rest of the population. You may call this a conspiracy theory, you may call it a conspiracy. I call it treachery. Treachery. We are responsible. Whether you are the victim or the victor, we are both victims. Whether you are a ruling class, whether you are a slave, we are both in victim. We are all in it together. We have to come clean. We have to really look after one another. The poor people should look after the rich people by supporting them to come to their senses. If you are still human, if there is still a modicum of humanity left in your spirit, come clean and clean up. Become a good person. You cannot be a monster and expect to produce the condition of sainthood. You cannot be a saint and a monster at the same time, and a demon at the same time. A lot of people in our community are turning into demons, into very dangerous creatures. And if you run away from anything on the street, you are probably running away from a fellow human. Across the globe, this is nothing to do with Britain. This is what is happening across the globe. Humanity are becoming a terror to itself. This must stop today. We need to revisit our culture. We have to do development. We have done very well on the developmental front. We have created wealth. We have produced technology. We are cleaning our environment. But the human factor, humanitarian factor is at stake. Rich people, poor people no longer increasingly failing to care about one another. This failure to duty of caring must change, must stop. We need to turn around and visit our humanity. Life without humanity is a dead life. Are we aliens? Are we waiting for creatures from the other space to deliver us? You think I am probably saying a nice thing. You probably think I'm saying being nasty. So be it. For those who say I'm saying a nice thing, join me and leave a comment below. If you are afraid, then let fear dominate your life. Then you become a slave to fear. But I am afraid myself of everything I am saying. But somehow I feel compelled to speak truth to power. And the human spirit must be renewed, must be rejuvenated. We need to really thrive. We need to really survive. And that is the essence. Let us go back and look at this policy before we conclude this process and find out the maximum amount of housing element you can get. This is how to calculate the housing element. If you don't know what the housing element is, go online to gov.uk and figure out what it is. I have been mentioning this. I'm so grateful you are watching. Thank you so much for your support. And you can make a non-dependent deduction. This is when your children are now older than 16, if they are 16 and 17. If they are older than 16 and 17 and they are not in full-time education or government-funded program, then they will be liable to contribute to the housing cost. So if they are 18 or 21 and they are in university and they are not counted for, they cannot actually be non-dependent deductible, if that is the correct language. As soon as they leave university, and as soon as, I think it's up to 21 years, you can double check online to find the maximum age for non-dependent or for dependent, non-dependent non-deductibility, because there are certain non-dependent deductions which are not deductible in certain circumstances from the age of 16 to 21. I think if you are between 18 and 21 and you are in education, probably not probably, most certainly, because I need to double check this information. It's not here. I'm just explaining from the top of my head, but from my memory. And with the law, you need to check all the time because it keeps changing all the time. Also, so we'll talk about non-dependent, which explain it is when your child is already considered an adult for the purpose of benefit. With the result that if they are a certain age and they are facing in a certain circumstances, they are labeled as non-dependent for purposes of non-dependent deduction. This deduction means your benefit is going to be reduced because of your children being treated like non-dependent adults. That is the essence of what is it. So the amount you take off depending on who you live with, and if you live with the kind of people I've been describing, then your benefit is reduced. But this is a conspiracy by the UK government. It's a policy, it's a rotten policy which should be removed immediately by a sensible government. If we can still get sensible government, non-dependent deduction should be removed today. A bedroom tax should be removed today. There are horror stories of the failed cultural economy in relation to benefit economy. This is wrong and wrong and wrong again. Council tax reduction should be paid in full, and its name should be changed. It is council tax benefit, or council tax money, or council tax grant. Reduction is a nonsensical approach to policy, and it should be scrapped. The next UK government coming into power should stop the nonsense about council tax reduction. Even the name remains, I don't care what they call it. Pay the full council tax benefit to people who are on benefit. People who are on minimum wage should get full benefit. This is what I've been saying. And if you think you despise benefit, then continue despising benefit, because you think you are all that because you are British or you are foreigner living in Britain who may or may not know anything about poverty. I mean, if you are so happy, I speak to people who cry on the phone. They are British, they are white, they are black, they are foreign, they are homegrown. Poverty is real in the first world, and this is disgraceful in Britain, America, in any developed world. Nobody should be poor for a second, including in Africa. Africa is another name for Africa is poverty. And Africa is notoriously poor. In a world flowing with milk and honey, there is so much wealth. It is only wickedness by the government of the world. It is purely wickedness by the government of the world for a day to leave any member of the global citizenship poor. Poverty is a stain on our society. It's the proof that we have chosen evil over good. I am not afraid to say this. If you want to talk to me about it, leave a comment below or meet me somewhere else. Then we can talk about this, because it is total proof that world governments are totally evil. Whether you are in Africa, Europe, America, Asia, you are so wicked to keep your citizens poor for a minute. The amount of wealth in the world is so, I mean, with all the expertise, with all the excellence of, learning, knowledge, the enlightenment, the degree of enlightenment in modern society, the depth and the height and the breadth of development we have achieved. We still live in poverty, but in the majoritarian sense. Because in Britain, if you're not or elsewhere, if you're a multimillionaire in US dollar, in Europe, EU, in terms of euro or even the pound or some of the European currency, these are strong currencies, including the American currency, maybe the Russian currencies also, but not African. Most African currencies are actually worthless currencies in terms of value. In the next 50 to 150 years, Africa will not have currencies because most of their currencies will be altered. It has to be changed into American dollar or the European euro dollar or whatever, because Africa is really in a really awkward situation, And you talk about inflation. I don't even know how to describe certain countries. 1 pound is equal to maybe 4,000 shillings or 1,000 shillings. What kind of money is that? Just 1 pound. 1 pound, 1 British pound is equivalent of 4,000 shillings in a certain country. And what kind of money is that? We don't talk about money for nothing, because money is what we use to buy what we need and what we want. You see, and that is why we are talking about this. And we talk about non-dependent deduction. It's so annoying to talk about non-dependent deduction. And I was speaking to a girl, and she was Asian, and she was living with her mom. I say, your mother's benefit is being reduced because you are grown. You are now an adult. She said to me, I was advising our mom, and her mom doesn't know English, so she was helping her mom. She said to me, is it my fault that I have grown? I've become an adult? Then we were laughing on the phone, saying, of course it's not your fault, man. That is how the government thinks. That's how the UK government thinks. Certainly, if a child grows up, they are a terror to the public money, and then you introduce a wicked policy known as the non-dependent deduction. It should stop today. So the amount is taken of the client benefit, which benefit is already so low, and conspiracies to keep the British people, the people of the world, in poverty deliberately, and this is very violent. And I've been saying this again and again. And let us look at this material. And this really terrible situation. So the final amount will be what your housing element is. That's what I've been trying to explain when I see non-dependent deduction. So the first element of calculation. So first of all, you calculate the room allowance. I don't know what it is, but it is an allowance given for a room, which means that this is actually what this means. This is how to calculate what you call a bedroom tax. So when you talk about room allowance, it means how many rooms the government allows you to have. So your room allowance can only include people in your extended benefit unit, EBU. Extended benefit unit is something which is so interesting. So the extended benefit unit includes your someone like you, someone like your partner. If you are a joint claimant, you're called extended benefit unit, because it is include your partner if you have one, and you are also having a joint claim of benefit. Any children or qualifying young people you are reasonably and you are responsible for, and this is an extended benefit unit, and it is a very cool terminology acronym. Any non-dependents, usually parents, grown children, friends, and relatives. These are non-dependents. And if you have a cousin or a mother or a dad living with you, they are supposed to pay. They are deducted for non-dependent deduction, and that is a type of reduction. When David Cameron was campaigning to become prime minister, and the Conservative was campaigning, which they won and formed a coalition with the Liberal Democrats. David Cameron, who became prime minister now, the British foreign secretary, said, we are going to reduce benefit. We are going to reduce the level of benefit. That is what they are doing. They're not bedroom tax, non-dependent adults, the deduction. That is what they are doing now. They are constant tax reduction. That is what they're doing. A benefit cap. That is what they're doing. And this is stealthy, it's a form of wickedness where the government actually stealthily reducing benefit with a view to closing the thing altogether. And the same David Cameron and the Conservative Party at the time, when they were campaigning to come into power, said, we are going to give your country back we are going to give your country back, which is nice. We want our country back from the state after all. But when they talk like that, they'll talk about closing down the educational system, closing down the NHS, closing down schools, closing down benefit system, closing down the housing. The British people have got it upside down. They do not understand the language of politicians who are really very crude in their manner, especially the ones who are very weird and wicked. I'm not pointing finger to any individual that is there for themselves. They are supposed to sort it out themselves. It's not for me to really do that. But there are public pronouncements where they say, they want work to pay more, they want work to pay. Like what they do, they fail to increase the level of pay for decent working British people, and this is a behavior across the globe. And people are being impoverished because you see there is a latent fear of those in power. The politicians of the world are so afraid of multimillionaires and multimillionaires. Oh, don't touch their money. They're going to leave our country. You see, we are society now behaving like prostitutes who will beg and beg on their knees when they see someone with money. And we now go and beg multimillionaires and multimillionaires. They are treated more than gods. They're treated like superhumans. They are above everything, maybe above the law, above the government. The government is so scared about politicians, multimillionaires and multimillionaires. Or if we tax them, they're going to leave the country and invest in another country. Why? We have foreign offices. We have globalization. Why? You see, foreign leaders meet every year to discuss development, to discuss progress. Why don't they talk with one voice? A rich person leaving a country should not be admitted in any other country, in Europe, in America, in Asia, in Africa. They should be countryless. To teach them a lesson, and their wealth should be taken away by force globally, in every country. Politician, foreign policy, whatever, trade, ministers, government officers responsible for this infrastructure should speak truth to themselves because they are in power. What has happened to British sovereignty, to American sovereignty, or powers in Europe and their sovereignties, in Africa and their sovereignty? Are we paying lip service to sovereignty? Britain is a sovereign state, and it should have power enough to tell of the multimillionaires and multimillionaires to start giving their money for free to the government to build houses for people who are homeless, to get them out of poverty, to help small medium business to raise the level of income when they work for a living. And the British people work so hard and they are paid pittance of money, keeping them willfully or recklessly into poverty. And this is the purpose of this program. Watch it, leave a comment below, and let me know what you're thinking, and let us have a conversation. I think we are here to stay. If you think humans are going to walk away quietly, and if you are an alien and you are a multimillionaire and you are trying to persecute the people of Britain or the British people of the world, we are going to turn you back where you came from. You have to go back to the outer space, because humans don't behave like that. It is a very, very dangerous commentary on humanity. We should be ashamed of ourselves. We have to stop whether you are rich or poor and start acting correctly. That is a must. I am not the law. I am a one-man band talking to myself and that, hoping somebody will listen to my solitude voice. And I'm so happy I get these things out of my chest, because I am one of those few who is still human. You have to know if you're a human or you're an alien. And if you are an alien, please do us a favor. Give back our money, give back our country, and get out of our universe, of our planet, Earth. Go to your planet, wherever you came from. You came here, you're stealing our land, you're stealing our money. You're stealing our homes. You're destroying our family. You're killing our children on the street. You see, people are committing suicide because of poverty in the United Kingdom and across the globe. What have we done to our world? I'm not saying money is the solution to the problem. I'm saying culture is the solution to our human problem, because we have to have respect for our life and respect for other people. And that is the ingredient, the fundamental, that it is more important than wealth, except that wealth is important. Except that other factors of society is important. Our politics is important, but humanity is number one. Every element of our activity should be wrapped around humanity. And that is the answer to the big question. Are we going to have peace or not? That is the question. If we have to have peace, we have to put humanity at the center of our operation. Nobody would be poor in the world today if we achieve that. And that is the roadmap to peace. That is the formula for peace. For anybody, for anywhere, any country, anywhere in the world, the planet is enough. The planet Earth is enough. The world is enough. And sure, we have to really stop and think and change and turn around and become human again. We need compassion. We need to be compassionate. We have to be really valuing humanity, valuing your life. Some people are so depraved that they don't even care about themselves. They are suicidal. They live dangerously. It doesn't matter how much money, how much wealth they have. They live there. It's like there is no tomorrow. It's like hell has visited their hearts. We are not going to admit hell on earth. This has to stop, and it will stop, because we are humans. It is in our nature. This is our estate. The earth is our estate. Nobody, not even anybody from hell or from wherever, is going to come and take over the earth. Humanity will stand up to truth, and will stand up to any adversity. We will stand on the truth, and we start the process today. Change must occur. We need to change our minds and change our approaches. Grow up and become adults. I've said this again, and I'm so happy I said it. If you're happy with me, leave a comment below, subscribe to this channel, and click like, click notification bell, share with family and friends, and let me know what you're thinking. So we are looking at a policy in the United Kingdom, something called EBU, Extended Benefit Unit. This is really gross. I don't know what it is. It should be removed. It's an acronym, EBU, Extended Benefit Unit. Like you are talking about some dangerous concentration camp. Extended Benefit Unit. If you are a joint tenant with a lodger living with your client, you are living with your joint tenant, you're living with your lodger, and you are included in you are included in your EBU. So these are some of the situation you face. You are not an EBU situation. This means you won't get a bedroom for such a people. That information is outstanding. Access the Department of Work and Pension, and gov.uk in the United Kingdom, and your government website also check what is happening with your country. If something is happening or something is not happening, go and ask your local leaders, maybe your local councillor, maybe your local member of parliament, what is happening? Why are you not getting benefit in Africa? Africa should be the first continent to get welfare benefit. And the level of welfare benefit should be higher than anywhere in the world, because the level of poverty in Africa is extraordinary. There are some individuals, including African dictators, including some, dodgy entrepreneurs and investors in Africa. They are worth in billions, tens of billions, and tens of, and even, what do you call them, in millions and billions in Africa, measured in US dollars. They are super rich in Africa. While in Africa, there are children going to bed without a drinking water because they cannot access clean water. If they drink any water at all, they could die within a month. out of curable diseases in Africa. This is only happening probably in Africa, perhaps also in other parts of South America or other parts of the world. But in Africa, Africa is a country most sinned against. And the world, the IMF and the World Bank financing African countries should change their policy today to the key proportion of their funding should be on policy, on social policy, to provide free education for every child in Africa, to provide free healthcare. Also, the world superpowers should go and police Africa and eradicate corruption today. If that is not done, Africa will go extinct in 100 or even 500 years. You will not see a black person in Africa. Unless white people go from Europe and take over Africa to turn it into their world, then you will have a continent and a people living in Africa who are not black. Because black people are going to go extinct. They're the ones living in Africa. The ones who in Europe maybe will be assimilated. They're going to turn brown, from black to brown. See, I speak as a black man, so I know my plight. I am black, I'm from Africa. So I know what happens in Africa. I know what happened to me in a white man's country. You know, we get married to white women or white men, and our children are modified species. We love them, they look beautiful. But in the decade, if a mixed race girl or boy marries another mixed race person, they are going to be whiter than black. But black people in Africa, I don't mind whether they are black or white, as long as they are human. That is what my concern is. You can be black if you want to be black. You can be white if you want to be white. It doesn't matter. I want you to survive. I want poverty to get out of Africa today, not tomorrow. So let us look at this cool acronym, EBU, Extended Benefit Unit. And this means you won't get a bedroom for someone like you, who is a joint tenant, who is or a lodger with someone is a joint tenant with you, someone is with you in joint tenancy. These are some of the categories. So if you live with someone who is in your EBU, that person must be able to make a separate claim for universal credit. So we are talking about EBU, like non-dependent, who are adults, who are living with you. Somebody like your family, like your best friend in the EBU category. So if they are not EBU, if somebody is like is in that category, then that person might be able to make a separate claim for universal credit. But I would say non-dependent adults, as always, are also required to, not really required, they are advised to make a separate claim for universal credit, which is what they do. And if they do, their universal credit should be taken in part to contribute toward the rent. That is as always. And so if your child is living with you and they are no longer in school, they are 16 years and above, they are no longer in school, or they are no longer in any government-funded facilities, then they will be non-dependent adults for purposes of deduction or for non-dependent adults. And for that purpose, they are supposed to claim either benefit or go to work. Whatever money they get from benefit or from work should be given to somebody with tenancy right. If you're living with your parent own that property either by renting or by having bought your property. And if you have bought the property, you're not going to be given housing element unless you're going to be getting service charge or whatever. These things are so complicated, and the complication is not a problem, because the law and policy are always complicated, but there are experts who are to be funded and trained properly to do the work of advising the British people on how to access. Now, if you phone any of these advisory bodies, They are out of funding. They lack resources. They are not going to help very much. They are so dedicated to their services, but because of the government attitude, failing to finance the public sector, refusing to actually neglecting the public sector in order to shut it down, I believe there's a conspiracy. Leave a comment below if you think there's a conspiracy to shut down the public sector. I will be the first to suspect conspiracy. Is a suspicion because it has to be proven in law that there's a conspiracy. Otherwise, it's going to be suspicion of conspiracy, the government being suspected by having a conspiracy to shut down the public sector. Leave a comment below. If you have an MP, go and ask your MP, is there an agenda, political agenda to shut down the public sector in the United Kingdom or not? They'll probably no, because they are expert public relational officers more than being politicians, more than being representative of their constituents, because that's what they should do, because they can stir up the crowd, and we will break loose on this country, which are a dangerous security risk if you tell them the truth. If you tell them we are going to shut down this country and move out to Mars, people will start rioting. You don't want to do that because people are so strange. I mean, you think they are adults. They are not, even if they are poor, even if they are rich, because they are going to start rioting. Nobody wants to see that. And so if politicians have to really deal with something which is impossible, so impossible as to explain the truth to the British people, they may say the truth in an approximate style. And you can't blame them because they're trying to protect you from yourself. And somebody tells you the truth, you're going to go and start rioting and destroy the country. And we will die. Instead of dying 100, 200 years, we are going to die tomorrow. And you can see if we fail culturally, there is nowhere to run. Whether you are telling the truth, whether you are lying, sometimes you shouldn't tell the truth even if you know. Because while you tell the truth cannot be swallowed and people will go insane. And they are going to destroy this country. They are going to destroy the world. And the world will go extinct tomorrow. If people know the truth. And the truth is supposed to be known to set them free. But we need our culture first. If people lie to us, if the government lies to us, they are trying to protect us from ourselves. We don't even call it lying. We call it, parental guidance, or even, government guidance on the citizen. Because, see, the people you are trying to, tell the truth to, I mean, if you tell them, the world is ending tomorrow, the people will die today instead of dying tomorrow. If the government knows or somebody knows the world is ending next year, people will die this year instead of dying next year. Maybe we can buy a bit of time to try and correct what is wrong. I understand that it's called administration. I understand that. But that is happening. The truth is being guarded. Especially if it is bitter. Even the truth is bitter. It's being guarded for security reasons. I understand that. And that logic applies because we as the people, including those who are poor and rich, those who are actually in power, those who are out of power, we are culturally backward, we are immature, and we need to sort that out through education. Education. Not just education, cultural education. There are other types of education, developmental education, for example, how to make money, how to run a country, but how to manage a human being is what we refer to as cultural economy, cultural system, cultural education. That is what I'm talking about. We are looking at universal credit, and there's something called EBU, Extended Benefit Unit. If your room allowance include 1 bedroom for each of the following in your extended benefit unit, EBU, then you or your partner, if you have one, could be you can, if your room allowance include 1 bedroom for each of the following in your EBU, you and your partner, if you have one, and any other person is, I've already mentioned this. I'm just going through this material. I already explained it. 2 children of the same sex age under 16, 2 children under 10 regardless of their sex, any other child, and you are responsible for 1 extra bedroom is allowed. 1 extra bedroom is allowed if someone who lives in your home can't share a bedroom because they have a disability, they need overnight care, is an approved foster carer or a kinship carer if they live in Scotland. And these are exceptions to the rule of non-dependent deduction, which will not apply in certain circumstances. If you live in a private accommodation, if you're a private tenant, and the most you can have in your room allowance is four rooms. It's a some of the rules. So you can work out your housing cost. That is number 2. We were dealing with number 2 category. We are continuing from here next time we meet. Thank you for watching today, and let us meet next time. And subscribe to this channel if you haven't subscribed. Thank you. We made it again. This tonight is a complicated situation, so is government policy and the politics surrounding it. And I'll see you in the next one. Thank you. Bye bye. Good morning. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is David Okon. I'm talking about money in the United Kingdom given to people who need it. And this money is given by the United Kingdom government to people who need it within the social policy, within the social program.
Yo,